Today's AskReddit post. What are some little known relationship green flags? Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Let's get started. I feel like there's a lot of detailed examples that largely boil down to two things: empathy and emotional maturity. It's sad that those two are so often lacking, that people become surprised by it. Being able to emotionally connect even after an argument or during. I have friends that love having intellectual battles between themselves. It's how they connect to each other and express their love. I can relate to this. I enjoy having intellectual arguments. Would you say you love being mentally challenged? Holy poop. The ability to coexist in very companionable silence. A friend of mine once said, when silence is not cringe, the friendship is real. My dad always told me all I needed to do to make friends was to be okay at talking, good at listening, and excellent at shutting the duck up. That's damn good advice. You don't feel like they are playing games. Communication is direct and you don't feel too nervous about what you should or shouldn't do or say. And you're not worried about what they do or don't do or say. Some butterflies is normal, of course. Edit. To clarify, my point here is it's possible to meet someone who, right from the beginning, you're not overly concerned about your interactions. You don't have to think too much about what to text them or when. Same with calls. They don't leave you wondering about when they will respond to you and what delaying means. They don't say or do cryptic things that you have to go home and call in a panel of friends to analyze. This is not to say that, in the beginning, you shouldn't take care to be on your better behavior and not to overshare. This is not game playing, it's being considerate. Cheesy but true. Communication in a relationship is like cell phone service. Lose it, and you start playing games, or searching for a better provider, or start indulging in the neighbor's Wi-Fi, to then take a trip to your local hotspot. I drink a lot of water and sometimes my BF would stay until late and I would fall asleep. Before leaving he always made sure I had a glass full of water on my nightstand in case I woke up thirsty. It's always the small details. Edit. I drink a healthy amount of water. Thank you for your concern, lol. My boyfriend does this too. I'm never without a water glass. If he walks by and it isn't full, he fills it up. I don't know how to tell you this, but I think you're dating a server. Mom, this is a Wendy's. No matter how angry you are at one another, you will still go out of your way or they go out of their way to help. I'll be wicked pissed, but I'll angrily make my wife her favorite dinner even though I don't want to eat. No matter how angry we are at one another, usually only last a short period of time. We will never sabotage or try to teach them a lesson. Many times, it ends up being both apologizing to one another. Arguing and getting angry is just part of a relationship and unavoidable. It is how you deal with it that sets it apart from a healthy relationship versus a bad one. Edit. Thanks for the reward thingies. There is never any harm telling someone you love them. I remember the time I was pissed at my so and then she accidentally spilled some sauce on her lap and I angrily helped her clean it up with my hanky. And you don't think anything of it. Not only not thinking of it, often, angrily doing something nice for my so during a disagreement can cool me down and give me a second to think through things from her perspective and allows me to be more empathetic. And half the time I realize how petty our arguments are. We both realize how stupid we were once we have cooler heads. Apologies are not spared at all. Lots of apologizes and I love yous. Listening to you and remembering the things you've said. Back when me and my boyfriend started dating, he'd sometimes bring up things that I've said before. My favorite foods, candies, etc. Made me super happy and could tell he genuinely cared. When your so takes criticism from you seriously without immediately trying to turn it back on you. If the converse is also true, you two stand a great chance of going the distance. I think it's important to realize that this is where you can be out the gate, or it's somewhere you can get to. My wife reacts very poorly to criticism, not because she can't stand to have flaws in her behavior pointed out, but because she feels that when I criticize her actions, I'm telling her that she's garbage, and in a day or two I'll be telling her to move out. That's a direct effect of her upbringing. And what's important is that she recognizes the issue for what it is. And we talk about it. It's made us so much better. This is amazing advice for any of the green flags in this thread. People come with their own experiences, but they aren't set in stone. Honest communication and working together on challenges is huge. I think lack of a certain green flag doesn't mean a red flag. This one's definitely a green flag. But the red flag version might be anything that could be perceived as a criticism results in a fight. It's one thing to not take criticism well. It's another to become enraged by it. Active listening. Not just being there while you talk, accurately giving opinions, advice if asked for, and generally caring for the conversion. Bonus. Active listening during an argument. Not trying to win, but trying to resolve the problem. Edit. Grammar. This is super important, but also the polar opposite is important. Being able to comfortably sit together in complete silence for prolonged periods is a good green flag. The best relationship I had was when we both fell asleep on the couch watching TV, and I woke up with her literally using me as a full body pillow. Of course, I couldn't move until she woke up and suffered from muscle cramps and pins and needles for about 3 hours. But the fact that she slept through the night was a milestone in the relationship, and I wasn't going to move until she woke up. Later, she began teleporting into bed after falling asleep because I learned better positioning and leverage. I'm sad on your behalf, this is past tense, but I had a relationship that was great and it ended amicably and is now just part of my story, and that's okay too. We're still in touch. Kinda. Her mom still invites me to family dinners. Even though she's married with 2 kids now, the ex, not her mother. I think mom is still holding out hope for the relationship even though we've both moved on to a friendship, instead of squishing bits together. Non-intercausal compliments. You taste good. You smell different when you're awake. Your hair smells just like I imagined. You smell of elderberries. Being able to have healthy conflict without fear that conflict will cause the end of the relationship. It's green flag, and a relief, to have natural disagreements and communication about those disagreements without constant fear that someone's going to hit the nuclear option. Edit. Also, doctoring my coffee and bringing it to me in bed was a smaller green flag. Edit 2. Doctoring meaning putting cream and sugar in. And thank you for the awards and gold Reddit friends. Underrated comment. Also, no matter how pissed off you are at EO, you're still supporting, respectful, and considerate of one another. Edit. For clarification, EO equals each other. And thanks for the gold, fellow Redditor. EO, emo ostrich. Laughter. And also, I've been with my partner for 40 years this month. And I still smile when I see him across a room. He still makes me laugh and my heart soars when I think of him. Awesome. And congratulations to you both. Been with my wife almost 10 years now, and she always tells me how she loves that I make her laugh at least once every day. I hope she still says the same thing 30 years from now. Laughing is probably the best thing you can do in the world and my favorite thing. One of my HS teachers told me if you can't find something to laugh about each day, what's the point of waking up, and that always stuck with me. If it's a chore you both hate, you do it together. My late husband and I both hated folding laundry, but it had to be done, so we always did it together. Made the chore less of a pain. My dad did that with us growing up. Anytime he needed to run errands or do housework, he would ask me or my brother to keep him company and talk to him. He said that made it was less about being bored and annoyed by doing chores and more happy hanging out and bonding time with his kids. It was always fun too. He genuinely did like spending time with us and joking around. We were never super close because he was pretty strict, but I always liked that quality time with him. I try to get my kids to help. My youngest daughter loves when the tools come out. Her big sister is a decent painter. I try to get them to help cook too. Stuff takes longer to get done, but hopefully they absorb some of the stuff we're doing. Exactly. Sometimes we as parents get stuck in this to-do list check-off race and forget to take time to teach, not just do and hope our kids absorb something from us they've been seeing. It ends up working backwards. They copy and paste the urgent attitude without the know-how mindset. It's a pretty convoluted story, but I was dating a guy, had to drive his car to get him from a situation, and wrecked his car due to mechanical failure, and called my mama to come get me so we could go get him, rescued him, then had to tell him I'd wrecked his car. His first question, "Are you okay?" My mom overheard. That one's a keeper. I've told this story before, but a week or two into dating my boyfriend, I was driving to work and one of the wheels fell off my car on the highway. I pulled over to the side of the road and called my boss and a tow truck, and then texted my new beau just for comfort. He asked where on the highway I was and said he'd be right there. Without hesitating, when he showed up and ran across the busy highway and scooped me up into a hug, I felt so loved and safe and thought, oh poop, this could be the one. And what now? It's been 4 years and we're very in love. Don't ever challenge him at Frogger. They trust you to stay at their apartment alone. Yeah, I thought I was the only one. The first time my partner said I could stay at his place in the morning to sleep in when he ran errands made me feel so good. When they do this, you gotta promptly steal everything they own. The real LPT is always in the comments. Our life pro tips. You recommend them a book or movie and they actually take the time to check it out. Once I dated a guy who would lie about watching things I recommended. I didn't figure it out at first, but when he told me that I felt so heartbroken. Why? Yeah, I just broke up with a person who would sometimes tell me yeah, I lied about that just to shut you up when I would bring up a situation or something. What a jerk. What the duck. Good riddance. If she shows equal interest in hanging out with you, if it feels like you're dragging them into going on a date, they're really not into you, no matter what they may say. Besides, let's be honest, wouldn't you rather date someone who is as excited and interested in seeing you and you are in seeing them? Exactly this. I've instantly lost attraction to a few girls because they were just so fake in terms of interest. People can act all they want, but their interest in hanging out is a clear way to tell if they really care. The flip side to it is that you want someone who is paying attention to your interests and you have to pay attention to theirs as well. You don't want to constantly invite the person you're dating to bars and clubs if that's not their thing. Some people are more introverted casual and some people are more about going on wild adventures. This is my so. Some of my friends don't understand why we're together. I'm up for wild adventures, he's not. He'd compromise sometimes but not anything wild. I can't seem to get them to understand he balances me, and I'd like to believe he needs my wildness sometimes too. The two halves a whole thing can work a lot better sometimes. My wife helps me learn to stay organized and tidy and I help her learn how to actually relax and stop moving for a while. While we value different things, sometimes we can accept that there is good to be learned from differing views. Able to forgive mistakes. Early in our relationship I accidentally backed my car into my fiance's car while coming out of the driveway. I definitely did damage. I immediately started freaking out and crying and he just calmly got out of his car, came up to mine and asked if I was okay. He got me to calm down and said it was fine, it was just an accident. He never made me feel bad about it. He called it our little bump to my friends to minimize my embarrassment. We laugh about it to this day. Side note, his dad who works with cars fixed his car for him at no cost. Edit. No, he did not have any way of knowing his dad could fix the car. His father is not a mechanic. His father knows a mechanic. His father didn't bring up fixing the car until several months later. Husband and I were moving furniture out of a U-Haul and it had been a long day. My patience was short. I was mouthing off at him for taking too long to take the ramp down. I know he was frustrated with me. I decided I was going to take stuff out of the truck ramp or not. Well, I fell down and hurt myself. Before I even fully felt the pain and realized what happened, he was right next to me, making sure I was alright, and got me cleaned up and put the band-aid on for me even though I didn't feel like I deserved it. That's such a cute story. Came home from working a 12-hour shift one night to a full dinner with my favorite dessert. Never had a girlfriend just decide to cook me a full meal for me to come home to like that. That's so sweet. At least the dessert was. We don't know about the rest of it. You want your partner to be happy and not the other way around. Oftentimes people want to be in a relationship to solely make themselves happy. Edit. My point is different from making your partner happy and completely forgetting your own happiness. I heard somewhere that in a relationship it shouldn't be to make yourself happy, it should be to have someone that you can share that happiness with. Will Smith quote. When you never have to question their whereabouts and you get that safe feeling. A lot of couples I know have tracking devices on their phone. How TF do you live like that? Edit. I see a lot of replies saying they do it for safety, convenience, or whatever. But at least one of the people in those relationships has control issues at the very least. I'd rather be alone at that point. God forbid they find your illegal dog fighting ring. I know what you're up to. Genuine support in your life goals. Even if that means you two will have to go long distance for a while or will have to have conflicting work schedule or it will make your relationship harder in some way. If they love you and want you to be happy, they will be genuinely interested in what you want to do and will try to support you to do that in whatever way they can. They won't hold you back in any way. This is something me and my so have been facing something similar to this recently. He's just graduated and is looking for a job. As much as I want him to stay close by so we don't have to do long distance for any more time than we have to, I'm going home for the summer. But if he gets a job the other side of the country I won't stop him and as long as I'm around I'll help him pack up. I love this. When you're on a road trip and your partner feeds you fries and helps you drink your soda or whatever, I think that's such a nice simple gesture of kindness. Yes, and there are many responsibilities being the co-driver. Extra points. For my girlfriend those responsibilities include napping. This is okay if everything is all set for the navigation. A good playlist is selected and the snacks are at open and in reach. You don't feel like you're competing for their time. You're just loved. Even when they are busy, you don't have to worry. People think you need to spend all your time with someone. You don't. But the feeling of being loved removes any jealousy or insecurities. You just know it's good. Damn. This makes me feel lonely. LOL, I remembered what that feels like. Can't wait to feel this again. Putting the shopping cart back. The ultimate litmus for being a good person. There was our best of thread the other day where a dude delineated in a comment all the ways in which putting a shopping cart back is exactly that good person litmus test. Was very interesting. Who doesn't put a cart back? Barring physical disabilities, illness, OFC. I always wanna strike down upon them with great vengeance and furious anger any who would attempt to poison and destroy my carts. Even worse is when they block parking spaces with them. My ex would tease me a lot and would tease me in front of his family. He would say things like, oh, she changed her outfit 3 times because she thought you guys would judge her. Or she didn't really want to come over but I convinced her. He would be laughing and joking but these things would be the truth. When I was going to meet my current boyfriend's family I was really nervous. In the car I said, please don't tell them how nervous I am. It's so embarrassing. He looked at me in shock and said, I'm on your side. Why would I tell them that? And it was like a freaking light bulb. Love this guy. My ex always did this to me. Once, his sister-in-law even asked me how I put up with it and confirmed that it made the rest of the family uncomfortable. They respect your food issues, weather preferences, allergies, etc. Bonus points. They defend you to their blood relatives. That was something that saddened me about my ex. I'm celiac, no gluten, and every time we discussed restaurants, she'd get pissy about me checking if it had gluten-free options. I fucking despise your obsession with being able to properly consume food without destroying your digestive system. Ugh. So annoying. Apostrophe. Aren't these people the worst? And then they have the audacity to start dying from a nut allergy. Ridiculous. What about my needs? Not a helpful comment, but I just wanted to say reading these gave me back some faith in humanity and reminded me of all the wonderful people in my life that I'm lucky enough to have experienced these green flags with. Thanks Reddit. Smiling face with squinting eyes. Made me cry because I've not been having a good time of it lately. There will be better days. Trust in the future and stay strong. Very subtle things that show they're a genuine person. Remembering things that you've told them and following up is definitely a good sign. I'm always surprised if someone I haven't talked to in a while remembers a couple basic things I mentioned to them in passing. Like what I do for a living. What my biggest interests are. I love the fact that they're not bothered by the number of bodies buried in my basement. Calling, texting just to see how you're doing. Even if they don't need anything. Edit. Used the wrong you're despite being a grammar fanatic. My girlfriend does this a lot. Likewise. I do the same. It makes my day hearing from her. Even if it's a short conversation. Telling the little details about your day. There's something really precious about that. And you feel in tune with the other person. Being able to complain about not pooping all day is great. Or pointing out a sore spot. Or texting him just to tell him I stubbed my toe. He's the first person I think of when anything happens. I want to tell him. And he lets me and does the same. That to me is a great green flag. While we were dating, my now wife would always put on a fake diamond ring whenever she would go out with her girlfriends. When I noticed it once and asked her about it, she said she would do it because it would discourage most, certainly not all, guys from hitting on her. It showed the type of person she was and was such a simple and easy gesture that no one I ever dated before had ever done. I obviously had to replace that fake one with a real one. I did this as a waitress in a past relationship to discourage the creepy older men. Boyfriend saw the set in my car console and threw it out on the highway. Should have taken it as a sign then and not when he blindsided me with a breakup 6 months later. Jeez, you were doing a really nice and cute thing though. Hope it doesn't discourage you to keep doing nice gestures and things like this in future relationships. Maybe this is just me, but when someone doesn't care too much about people's opinions of them, like when they aren't afraid to act goofy in front of people they don't know, I absolutely love people that don't take themselves too seriously. This can backfire sometimes. I also like people like this, but most often I find it becomes an indicator of someone who doesn't take responsibility well. I suppose a mix of not taking yourself seriously but also displaying the ability to take yourself seriously would be what to look for. It feels easy, effortless, unforced, natural. This is a good sign of a real connection. Compromise feels like second nature. You both breath thoughtfulness and consideration towards each other. You figure things out together. You see each other, respect each other, and appreciate each other. This deserves more attention. I feel like a lot of people, especially younger people who've just begun dating, don't realize that love shouldn't feel forced or constantly difficult. Everyone goes through rough patches, but you shouldn't feel like you're in an eternal rough patch. If they treat waitresses respectfully, edit, of course. This alone isn't going to determine if they're a good person. Just like any other green flag, it's simply one thing to pick up on that could be an indication. I think this is such a well-known green flag that many people, men especially, treat waitstaff better when a potential partner is around to witness the good treatment. Alternatively, I have too much social anxiety to say anything other than this is great. You too. They communicate if they will be delayed and how long they will be. Talk things through before it becomes a screaming match, not after. Asks about boundaries, traumas, and doesn't judge you for them, but instead respects them. They text you first. Makes you feel good and you know they genuinely wanna talk and like your presence. I'm an hour ahead of my partner. Usually I'm the first to send a cute good morning type text and I switch them up a little each day. Well, Sunday night, Monday morning I took off from work and was able to sleep in. Waking up to her sending the first move had me smiling like crazy. Was such a good feeling knowing it is reciprocated back to me. Smiling face. I just wanna thank all of you for those comments. I'm passing through a really depressive time. I didn't get up of bed in days because of a bad relationship where he don't value me at all, and I always try my best, and all of your comments are helping me to take the decision to leave him forever because he does the opposite of what you all are saying. I was starting to have suicidal thoughts. Thank you for this. To all of you, sorry for my bad English. I believe in you. Sending you strength to get yourself to a better position in life, where you are loved and truly valued. Good people are out there. Don't lose faith. Thank you a lot. You made me feel better. Thanks, Red Heart. When you like the person that you become when you're with them, everyone projects a different version of themselves around different people, and if you don't like who you become when you're with someone, it's probably not going to be the healthiest relationship. You so should bring out the best in you. It's the small things. The doing something just because it will make your partner smile and wanting nothing in return. A few months ago I was having a bad day and had texted my partner about the basics, and he said to head over to his place after work. I showed up so defeated by the day, opened the door, and my dog is there. He had spoken with my parents, picked up my dog from their house because he knew that's what I needed. He was cooking dinner and told me to just go cuddle on the bed with my dog while he took care of everything else. That's when I knew he and I were in it for the long haul. Yes, this is so important. I remember being really busy researching once and getting to my desk in the morning to find that my partner at the time had set out every I needed for the day already to save me assembling everything. When he came back later, he didn't think it was a big deal, but it was such a thoughtful gesture. I just remember seeing all my stuff ready on the desk and feeling so cared for. Asking follow-up questions about their stories instead of just offering comparative experiences shows they're trying to understand and learn instead of just relate. Sometimes comparative experiences are to demonstrate that they understand and do not need additional explanation, or that they have something in common with you, and is a form of reciprocation. This is very healthy. I think that is different than simply pivoting to themselves constantly for attention or validation for the sake of making themselves the center of everything. Some people just spend an inordinate amount of time talking about themselves, and use any excuse possible to do so, even at the expense of hijacking another person's story without any real acknowledgement of the details of that story, or before the story completely unfolds. Some forms of anxiety are expressed in this way, where a person constantly tries to get reassurance through flipping the conversation to them and their feelings and their life and experiences. They actually want to spend time with you. Being good with animals. Hitler was pretty good with his dogs though, but you have the spirit. Remembering things you said, like foods you don't like or topics you are passionate about. Is your partner comprehensive when you are sincere and honest? Are you free to say what you think without being scolded? Especially being able to say your thoughts and your partner not get defensive. We all need to be able to call each other out on our bull. My wife says the biggest early test I passed was when we went to Goodwill together at the very start of everything. She was looking at some wedding dresses on the rack and asking my opinion. I told her not to bother. Our family business is basically tailoring. Costume shop where all the rentals are handmade in shop by a certified grandmaster costumer. Yes, that's a thing. And we could make whatever she wanted to her exact requirements for a fraction of the price. Later on she told me it was a test to see if I'd run away screaming at the idea of getting married. Like nope. There's no point to me in dating if that isn't the end goal. We got married, and she got her custom made wedding dress for free because we already had the fabric she liked. On the other hand, all of those tests are a bit odd. I agree. Like, why can't you just discuss marriage like adults? I would see her behavior as a red flag. Marriage is a huge deal. Don't expect someone to commit to that kind of thing right in the beginning. Just let the relationship grow organically. Then talk about it when the time is right. I think perhaps the word test is being taken too literally. Organically growing a relationship is, in other words, a test two people undertake to see if they're comparable. You'll grow and feel each other out testing compatibility. The aforementioned woman was testing the water, so they say. to see if he was agreeable to marriage. If he panicked, she could still enjoy her day while understanding that perhaps they have different goals. It's the beginning of the relationship, so there is no need to be blunt and talk marriage yet. Homegirl was just testing out if he was adamantly against the idea, so she didn't waste time. Reddit being pedantic and rushing to judgment? Nah, never. Bro, you actually watched the whole video. I'd give you a high five if I was a human. Make sure to click the like button and subscribe for more great content. See you next time.